Hello and welcome. I want to share with you today my refugee support plan. I've been talking to lots of teachers and colleagues in the last couple of days who are expecting to be able to support children as they come into the country from the Ukraine, notwithstanding the current lack of routines and systems of support that we haven't got in place. Actually, we just haven't got them in place yet, but we know that this is going to happen. So I just felt that it was really important to share this with you and to be able to think about some very simple things that we can all do to ensure that this something that can happen for our children and young people as they come in more smoothly, because already we know that many of these children will have been experiencing very, very heightened levels of stress and anxiety, and this would have been an incredibly traumatic journey that many of them will have made. Some even have made it on their own. We heard today in the news. Other children we know are coming along with their parents too, but mainly their mothers. So I've developed this refugee support plan simply because I'm very aware that people are feeling nervous about this. Some people are feeling overwhelmed. They've been watching a huge amount of news, etc. But this is really simple, really practical stuff that we can all do. And if you want to download this, please go to my Twitter feed, because you can download this and print it off and share it with colleagues in your workplace if you're a teacher or psychologist, whoever you're working with. But I just want to make this clear. This is not rocket science. There's an awful lot that people are already doing in schools that is really good practice in terms of trauma-informed practice and creating trauma-informed classrooms, and also understanding how to co-regulate with children and young people who are in distress. So just to bear that in mind and keep that in the back of your heads. But I'm going to go through each one of these in turn. It's very, very simple. We know that our refugee children will be experiencing, some of them, huge levels of anxiety, fear, terror, and a sense of helplessness as they transition into new schools and our communities. And this is totally understandable given their experiences. And obviously, the longer that they have taken to make this journey and the more that they have witnessed the horrors and the terror back in the Ukraine, then the more complex and difficult this is going to be for them. And we need to factor that into our thinking. At the outset, we need to be thinking about empathy as being key here. We need to become, all of us, schools of sanctuary where children and young people can feel safe and included. That element of safety and inclusion is central here at this point in time. This is what really matters. These children have been through terrors and they do not feel safe. We need to make sure that they can feel safe as they come into our schools. I also think that it's really, really important that we recognise how different these children may be from each other. It's going to be a very different experience. Some of these children may want to talk about what's happened to them, their fears, their worries, their concerns. They may need to sit down and do that with an individual who is trained to listen therapeutically, but others won't need this. They just may need time themselves to process what their experiences have been and do so in more creative ways, using art, play therapy, creative outlets of some sort, or physical outlets too. It's important we do understand the symptoms of trauma, however. We need to know what to look out for and engage in what I call watchful waiting, whether that's avoidance, re-enactment through play, which may happen, or they become very withdrawn, aggressive, or maybe they kind of go back into kind of younger phases of their development in terms of their behaviour and cognitive ability. This is all understandable and it will happen. It's quite normal. So we mustn't be too worried. We must become more worried if this doesn't go over time, if it doesn't subside over time. And that's when we need to actually elicit the support and help of specialists. We need to hear the voice of the child here. This is absolutely vital. They tell us what they want, what they don't want, what they need at this current moment in time. And as I said, not every child is going to need a bespoke therapeutic intervention. That's obvious. So it's very important to keep your watchful waiting skills going and just keep your eye. I say keep a beady eye on the child just to make sure they're okay, they're managing. I think we need to express a genuine welcome as their new nurturers, because that's what we need to be at this moment in time. Not teachers, not people trying to drill or instill information, but people who are going to nurture them and provide a a place and a sense of safety through compassionate, understanding interactions. We want them to know the clear key message: you're welcome here. We value you, and we're going to make sure that you're safe and that you feel loved in our community. I also think it's vital to engage with parents and carers in the community. And what really matters at the outset, what people need, is practical help and advice, things that they haven't got, stuff they need. This is something that we can all do. We can all become a helper in this, in providing that level of practical support. Very, very important to begin with. Very, very easy to welcome. You know, just go to Google Translate if you have no Ukrainian speakers in your school, but there are plenty of services now that we can access that will help us and support us set up those welcoming signs, making sure the classroom is accessible. They can see their own language, their own culture represented in the school community, and involve the parents and carers in translating. I also think it's really important. There's a lot of research to show us that many refugees' experiences quite complex when they first come in, because for some of them, they just want a respite from the anxiety, the fear, the terror, the horror that they've experienced. And I had one boy years ago when I was working as a much younger psychologist in a school, who'd come in as a refugee and said to me, I really wish, you know, that they had asked me about my favourite football team as opposed to how I got to the UK. And I really didn't like the fact that I was asked to go and speak about Syria to a group of children in my form, because they needed to know about what it was like to be a refugee. Because actually I didn't want to relive that. We need to go from where that child is and really listen to them and give them the respite they need in the way in which they need it. The curriculum needs to be accessible. Obviously, that's so, so important. And you know, teachers are really good at this. And I think it's very important not to forget what you already do well in this area. Okay, remember the trauma-informed practice people have developed, that the awareness you have about grief and loss and how to support children and how to nurture them. We must make sure that we really focus on that and access also the empathy of the peer group. Children are powerful little individuals who can really support and show kindness to each other, particularly when that is the culture that is fostered in their school community. I also think it's vital to promote play, socialisation. They need to be with other children, have fun, have lots of physical activity, creative activity, those flow experiences on a very, very regular basis. And I think as well, recognise what they can do. What is their existing skill set? Show that we value this. I think that's very, very important. Tell me about what you know, what you're interested in, what you're good at. Okay, let's build your self-esteem up straight away. Always remembering, of course, that traumatised children may have regressed and may regress in terms of what they can do as a direct impact of the trauma they've experienced. So just to be very careful and sensitive towards that. I think it's really vital that we respect, as I said earlier, their need to fit in. I've had so many children say to me, I just wanted to be like everyone else. I wish that people would stop going on and on and on about it. I just wanted to get on with my life. And okay, I knew that I needed to talk to someone. I knew I would have to process this terrible feeling inside me and the sense of grief and loss that I'd experienced. But very, very important, I really wanted to fit in. I wanted to be normal like the other kids. So very, very important that we nurture their resilience now through love, empowerment, engagement. We connect with them and we help them to develop the kind of coping skills that they need, managing stress, anxiety, learning how to communicate about their feelings when they feel that they can and when it is necessary and appropriate. For me, there's a key central message here that I don't think educational practitioners should ever forget. Our schools are really key here. Simply being in school for many of these refugee children is the best medicine, because what that provides them is a sense of safety, security, and the kind of routines that they need, which will enable this post-traumatic growth to happen, because it will happen. And this also gives them the hope that is so needed by all of us right now at this current point in time. So I hope this very simple plan is useful, and I hope you can share this wee video because I really think it's important now. Let's alleviate our own stress around this. We are good at what we do. We know how to support children who are traumatized. And I also think we just need to flag this up, that there are simple, practical things that we can do right now. And our schools can be the healing mechanism that promotes this post-traumatic growth, which is so necessary. So thank you very, very much for listening. And I really, really hope that this is going to be useful and just a practical resource that you can share now.